Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Josh Price. Josh Price. Josh Price. Steve Beckley. Steve Beckley. Steve Beckley. David Pumphrey.
Here.
Michael Nett here. Tim Shaw.
Here.
Caleb Foreman.
We do have one. Additions or corrections, I would like to start. Following additions and corrections, we'll have a public comment. In number 13, under reports, we have our road commissioner here. We have Gary, let's call him Rich Line, there's two of them here. For the road commissions, will be here. And, yeah, number 7, go ahead.
Number 7, under new business, salary and wage increases based on performance evaluation. Number 7 is to increase the fireman's wages 2% effective 7/1/21. There's 3 additions.
You know, all that is.
You.
I'll support. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, we'll open the floor to public comment.
My name's Peter Tockman. I reside at 14377 Killybegs Lane. On tonight's agenda, Supervisor Shaw has included an item entitled Public Hearing, Planning Commission Remove Member. I sent an email to each of the board members with link to Planning, Michigan Planning Enabling Act 33 of 2008. And that speaks to removal of members. In section 15.9, the legislative body, which is you guys, may remove a member of the planning commission for misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance. Failure to act where action is required, willful and inappropriate action, willful and intentional action that injures a party. Just want to make sure that the board knows what you're doing. Supervisor Shaw has attempted to shortcut the requirement for removal of a planning commission member for the past couple of months and appears to have a vendetta against Ms. Gale. I do not think this removal is in the best interest of the township, and the supervisor is exhibiting poor judgment in pursuing this. I'm told that Ms. Gale has retained an attorney. Is litigation is something the township board feels is in the best interest of the community? I think not.
Anyone else? Curtis?
Yes, my name's Curtis Gale. I attended a meeting last month, and I picked up a copy of the payroll for the township. And something caught my eye that I find disturbing, and anybody I've talked to about it also finds disturbing. But it turns out that the supervisor of the township earned more money from the fire department last month. And that only showed for 2 weeks, not the full month, by the way. That more money was earned working for the fire department than as the supervisor for the township. Now, as I look at it, that would mean that the supervisor is working for the fire chief, so the fire chief is the boss, and yet the supervisor is the fire chief's boss. Everybody I talked to about this sees that as a conflict of interest, which is very much against the ethical policy all board members have signed for the township. And it would be nice if I hear some sort of statement addressing that before the meeting is over tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else?
For what, Robert Eichler, Scipio Township, with Mr. Gale, we have a reading on that, and to the supervisor, I hope you'll take to heart. Some of those issues is controversial, for those positions, and, you know, some of the things that has happened in the past, not to bring up old stories, but what took place when the commissioners down here at this township level as well became a controversy, and it was hard, and I think you thought it through very clearly. I hope you'll find to start thinking a little bit clearer on how much this is gonna affect the rest of the people here, seeing that maybe this is a double dip, possibly, but please look at it, Jim. Thanks.
Anybody else wish to address the board at this time? Okay, moving on. As stated earlier at last meeting and has been posted, we are going to close this public meeting and open up our township meeting and open up a public hearing. So I will move at this time that we go to public hearing for the removal of Connie Gale as planning commission. Roll call, please.
Dave Humphrey,
Yes.
Mark Bonacci, Tim Shaw.
Yes. Connie, I will ask this time, would you like to go into closed session? Okay. No, she replied in no. Okay. We will open the floor for discussion on the public hearing. Anybody wish to address the board?
Are you guys got some charges that you are going to discuss?
Thank you. Date, May 13, 2021, Somerset Township Executive Committee. Attendees, Tim Shaw, Supervisor Michael Knight, Clerk, meeting open 10 a.m. Subject, removal of Connie Gale from the Planning Commission. Supervisor Shaw and Clerk Bonnet reviewed a list of concerns regarding Connie Gale's conduct. She was part of the show disrespect towards zoning administrator Don Fagel in an open public meeting to the extent that he resigned over not being able to take any more verbal abuse from Connie Gale. Continuous undermining the board of trustees by questioning board ethics.
Hey, Tim, can you slow down? And it's kind of hard to follow what you're, it's getting kind of complex what you're talking about. We want to make sure we understand.
What part did you understand?
The first part, when you
Yeah.
said,
Slow
you
down.
reviewed, tell us what you reviewed.
Please.
I'm trying to do that. You're stopping me here.
Well, I just wanted to say too, we have Nicole Rowe here as a court reporter, and I already can see the look on her face that she's having problems taking down what you're saying.
Okay.
So we're making a record of everything that's here for appeal if it's necessary. So if you talk, just let each other talk and don't talk over each other. So-
And before you speak, state your name.
Okay, Peter Tockman.
Thank you, everybody.
Tim Shaw, I want to
I
continue.
got you.
Showed disrespect toward zoning administrator Don Fagel in an open public meeting to the extent that he resigned over not being able to take any more verbal abuse from Connie Gale. Number two, continuous undermining board of trustees by questioning the board of ethics. Number three, monopolizing conversation during planning commission meetings by not allowing balanced conversation. Number four, lost respect of other planning commission members. Number five, belittled the ZBA secretary regarding ZBA minutes. Number six, bias toward agriculture that permeates all conversations. Number seven, exacerbated former assessor Jim Bailey and present assessor Mark Griffin. Number eight, questionable physical responsibility regarding questionable fiscal responsibility regarding Region 2 and legal costs. This is all public comment. If anybody wants a copy of it, obviously they're welcome to it.
How do we get a copy?
Just talk.
Peter Tachman, how do we get a copy?
Just FOIA copy, or we can make a copy for you, it doesn't matter.
It'd be nice if we had it now, so we could follow along with it.
Based on the above reasons, the decision to remove Connie Gale from the planning commission was taken. Removal of Connie Gale from the planning commission will be held, and then at that point, we 2021 Board of Trustees meeting consent agenda for the Board of Trustees vote. And I will accept the fact that I did everything except for call for a public hearing, which I'll take responsibility for that because I didn't know I had to do that. But all board members were fully aware of what was going on. So that is what we have for charges.
Do you have the letter of resignation?
John, go ahead.
So he'll just raise your hand. We'll take turns here.
John.
But he called me first, Curtis.
Are you dropping out or you?
No, I got a question.
Go ahead.
So, John Smith, Somerset Township. Nobody's called me on the audio recordings. Obviously, David was there, right? I think he was at the second meeting. I don't know if he was there. Yeah, I think he was. But you weren't there, Tim, and Mike wasn't there. I did audio record, and there's accusations of saying that she was being, those first couple accusations. I have audio recording, so I don't know why you guys knew I had audio recording. I don't know why you guys didn't come and get it for me. So, like, if you guys want to know more information on those accusations, instead of just taking, one side of that accusation, you could hear it on the audio recording.
Okay. Curtis.
There should be a letter of resignation from Don McGill that, as far as I know, has not been accepted by the board. Is there a letter of resignation from Don McGill that will verify what you were saying? Next question. The former assessor that we're talking about, Mr. James Bailey, I believe, if I remember right, was Mr. Jim Bradley. Mr. Jim Bradley apparently also must have done a letter of resignation that was accepted by the board. If there was any mention at the time that Connie was the reason he was leaving, it never came to anybody's attention that I know of. Is there a copy of that letter available? And can you produce it here at the meeting? So it can be read to the group and we can find out what these guys actually said, instead of just taking your word for it.
Just saying it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, any of these letters that we're talking about can be FOIA.
I'd like to make a statement if there's anybody else.
Your name, sir?
My name is Richard Lindsay, I'm an attorney for Connie Gale. I'm just gonna step up here so I can face everybody. Again, I'm Richard Lindsay, I'm an attorney in Jackson. I just wanna state I also serve on a planning commission. I've also been general counsel for Calhoun County, so I have some experience with government law along the way. I wanna say just a few words, and actually, you stole my thunder a little bit about what I was gonna say about the standards for removing somebody from a planning commission, and then I'm gonna have Connie Gale's gonna say a few things in response to the specific charges. I wanna say just initially, I sent all of you an email and asked for a copy of the charges. I did not receive anything back from that. Obviously, we had copies of these minutes, so we didn't know for sure that was what was gonna be there. I would like an opportunity to have a response to my FOIA request, and to have the information this is gonna be based on come back to us. One of the things I would ask is if you can just table this at this time, rather than going forward with this. That's an option that you would have if you chose to do that. If you don't do that, I just want to say a few words about Connie. She's a member of the Somerset Township Planning Commission. She's served diligently and ethically on the commission. She's taken her position very seriously. She's devoted time and attention to these efforts because she wants to help, she wants to serve, and she wants to make her township a better place to live. She gets paid the princely sum of $35 per diem for doing this. And so she really does it out for her love for the process and love for what it is that she's doing. As was pointed out in public comment before, there is a statute that says specifies how you are going to say lobby and remove a member of the planning commission. Supervisor doesn't have the power to remove, the board can't do it by an action item on the consent agenda. It has to be done through this process. And the statute says specifically it can be done for 3 reasons. So malfeasance is the doing of a wrongful act. So an example would be county taking a bribe. Somebody wants a zoning change, and so they slip her $100 bill because they want your vote. That would be malfeasance. Be criminal too for the state police officer in the audience. That would be something she could be removed from office for. Misfeasance is the doing of a lawful act in a wrongful manner. Example, she would approve, or that the board would approve a conditional use permit, but they didn't give the adjoining property owners the proper notice. That would be misfeasance. They did a proper act, but they didn't do it correctly. Nonfeasance is the failure to do an act required by the duties of the office. So, for a planning commission just says, we're not going to approve it. We're just not going to hear it. We're not going to put it on the agenda. That would be nonfeasance. It has to be for one of those items. There's no other reason, no other way to remove somebody from office. And it has to be for something that took place in office. So it's something that she's doing as a planning commissioner has to be the reason that she's removed. Can't be for conduct that's unrelated to the office. The statute goes on to state there has to be written charges after a public hearing. And again, I could contest, and planning could contest if this doesn't go the way we hope it goes, that these are not proper written charges. I understand the position of the township, but they weren't provided to us. Were provided to my client before the hearing. Due process. So my client is entitled to due process. She's entitled to have a notice of the charges against her. This is fundamental to our process. This is part of why the people in the audience want copies of these things, because they came here in support of her. They want to know what it is you guys are doing, why you're doing it, and they're entitled to have that. So again, the court reporter is here, Mr. R.O.A.R is here to take down every word that's said in the public hearing. If the board decided to remove my client from her position, the process is going to be, this will be written down in the record, and it will go to the circuit court. We're going to appeal to the circuit court. We'll see what the judge thinks about the reasons you stated for the removal. So the question comes up, why is this process required by Michigan law? Again, I've been a planning commissioner, and Connie's been in the position, I'm sure, as well. You are sometimes called upon to make difficult decisions. So neighbors fighting against neighbors, zoning changes that are made. Just had one come up in my township where the ITC, which is your power lines, that wanted to put a power line through some people's property. Well, that's something that gets people really upset. But we have a zoning ordinance, we have to follow the zoning ordinance, and after an hour and a half long hearing, we approved that. That's why the township board can't just unilaterally move people up there on the planning commission. That's why you have to go through this process. Can't be on a whim, can't be for a personality conflict, cannot be for conduct unrelated to the role of the planning commission. So I'm going to ask for, and let Connie talk for a few minutes about the specifics of this, and would ask that the board not remove her from her position.
Hi.
I'm going to comment from writing, so that I have it in writing and eventually others will see this writing. As I noted in the presentation at the May 2021 board meeting, Michigan Planning Enabling Act, the legislative body may remove a member of the planning commission based upon notifying the planning commission member through written charges of specified misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance in work of the planning commission after a public hearing. This was not followed, and Supervisor Tim Shaw indicated to me and others he did not have to follow the law since he was a supervisor. This was similar to my prior inquiries as to following the law in appointing members of the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals. Supervisor Tim Shaw indicated that Township hadn't followed the law in the past and didn't respond to my question as to why that would justify continuation in not following the law. The minutes of the April 15, 2021 board meeting stated, unfinished business, Blight Civil Infraction Committee, Supervisor Shaw said was officially disbanded. The minutes also noted Supervisor's report posting of openings for Planning Commission. The minutes did not indicate any interface about these matters with the board. There was no interface with the Blight Civil Infraction Committee or with the Planning Commission. Members of the Blight Civil Infraction Committee had not been informed of such by Supervisor Tim Shaw. No one from the board had outreach to these residents or noted any need to discuss continuing to work on this issue. Given the initial indication of one opening on the Planning Commission, I interfaced with Planning Commission members to know who had resigned. 3 regular members indicated they had not, including the current zoning administrator, Richard R.O.A.R, who later informed me he began his work as a zoning administrator on April 20th, 2021. The township had noted payment from April 10th. On April 16, 2021, I met with Region 2 Planning Commission to review proposed true ordinance changes in additions to the zoning ordinance. By one of my former emails, Supervisor Tim Shaw knew that my meeting with the Region 2 Planning Commission and called that morning to inquire if I was there. When Grant Bowman responded yes, Supervisor Tim Shaw hung up. I spent the entire day going over the zoning ordinance. Grant Bowman emailed me the updating on Monday morning, April 19th. I spent considerable time going over the wording to assure it correctly reflected our meeting. Supervisor Tim Shaw called me that afternoon and noted I was fired. I asked why, and he would not respond. He indicated he had the power as supervisor and did not respond to my inquiries as to state law. As noted to the board, and of which they have been familiar with, Michigan Zoning Enabling Act and Michigan Planning Enabling Act references in context of discharge to misfeasance, malfeasance, and nonfeasance upon written charges and after a public hearing. I reached out to Clerk Mike Bonnet and Trustee Steve Medley. Clerk Mike Bonnet indicated he didn't know it was me who had been removed. Neither of them knew the reasons I was discharged. Note the realities of the April 15 minutes that none of the board members engaged on the issue. On April 21, 2021, Supervisor Tim Shaw emailed me, I understand you have been contacting others. It was not something I took lightly. Outside of the master plan, I have seen nothing since to justify the amount of money spent. I would rather not discuss this at an open meeting of the board, but if you choose to do so, I will not be able to keep quiet on this. The reasons you are removed are quality people have resigned because of the issues with you, Jim, and now Don. I have had complaints from the planning commission members, and you have had a negative impact on the budget for planning zoning, and I understand it is not all you. And still indicating the continuation. We have received negative emails from you calling us corrupt and saying you will go for a recall of the entire board. As noted in my memo sent to the Board of Trustees on April 22nd, upon calling Supervisor Tim Shaw, I was told Jim was a prior assessor, and Supervisor Tim Shaw had no true information as to why the prior assessor resigned. As for the zoning administrator, Don Figel, resigning due to the Blight Committee, I noted the realities. Supervisor Tim Shaw did not state anything further as to the purported Planning Commission negativeness, and this was within my reality of personally, repeatedly receiving affirmations, and if there were concerns, the members should have met with me for resolution. The financing issues are explained in my further analysis of the executive committee meetings as certainly not a framework to accuse one planning commission member without any information regarding such. The issue about accusation of corruption was not within context of the planning commission and related to historical issues. If Supervisor Tim Shaw was truly dealing with my memo, I had sent as to my initial reaction of my property assessment within the context of others overwhelmed by similar issues. I had even stated to him I was not indicating corruption by him as a primary assessor. As for the recall issue, he admitted it was not me, but accused John Smith and that I was friends with him. When I communicated with John Smith, this was also not stated by him. Basically, none of these issues truly supported accusation of misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance relating to the Planning Commission. The April 24th memo I had sent to 3 board members had included what had previously sent within the context of the accusations of the supervisor. Outside of the master plan, I have seen nothing since to justify the amount of money spent. My prior memo to the board noted the Planning Commission has spent considerable time in updating the zoning ordinance to reflect the updating of the master plan. The basic framework of the zoning ordinance corrected, approved by the board, and now the Planning Commission is working on actual issues. Hopefully, there will be less expenditures given my no-cost work. On May 11th, I chaired the regular Planning Commission meeting. The Planning Commission determined to have the Township attorney review the proposed changes so a public meeting could be considered for the future. Please note that Supervisor Tim Shaw had told both members, Lynn Hartzler and Mo Carolyn, not to attend the Planning Commission meeting. David Humphrey did not attend the Planning Commission meeting and did not inform any of the Planning Commission members of such. I was informed Supervisor Tim Shaw had indicated Richard R.O.A.R needed to resign from the Planning Commission, even though his appointment as a zoning administrator was simply temporary. I had asked Richard R.O.A.R as zoning administrator, he can open the door for the meeting. Richard R.O.A.R indicated Supervisor Tim Shaw noted it was his authority to approve Richard R.O.A.R to attend the meeting, and that was not approved. I had asked Clerk Mike Burnett if I could set up tables and chairs on Monday, which he allowed me to do. On Tuesday, the items were removed, and I had to reset the tables and chairs. The May 20 board meeting agenda on the consent agenda stated remove Connie from the Planning Commission. On May 17th, I sent a memo to 3 board members which noted the MSU extension article is a consent agenda right for your board. Boards can use a consent agenda to approve non-controversial items to expedite business and save time during minutes. Consent by all members of the board must be given to approve the list. Again, I noted Michigan Zoning Enabling Act indicates the removal of a member of the Zoning Commission is within written charges and after a public hearing. At the May 2021 board meeting, through public comment, people contested my removal from the Planning Commission, including even from the prior supervisor, noting this was not following law. The item was transferred to new business. The May 20 meeting minutes stated in new business, remove Connie Gale, Clerk Bonnet moved to table this item until June 17th, and Shaw was the only one who voted against this. But this did not reflect a public hearing. The invoice approval list noted zoning administrator Don Fidel was paid as such for 4/16 through 4/30. Richard R.O.A.R was shown payment within 4/10 through 4/25 and 4/25 to 5/8. Supervisor Tim Shaw reportedly terminated the Blight Civil Infraction Committee on 4/16 and intended my termination from the Planning Commission within the same time period. The agenda of the May 20 board meeting noted on consent agenda, accept resignation of Richard R.O.A.R from Planning Commission effective 5/1/21, and on minutes did not note the date. Also inconsistent with prior board meetings, voting on temporary workers, the minutes had no indication of Richard R.O.A.R as a temporary zoning administrator. Again, I was informed Richard R.O.A.R was told by Supervisor Tim Shaw to not continue as a member of the Planning Commission, not to attend the Planning Commission, and not to attend the May 20 board meeting. The May 20 board meeting noted on unfinished business, Civil Infraction Committee. Supervisor Shaw stated a committee is working on civil infraction. There is no information regarding such. Dan York informed me that he and Richard R.O.A.R worked on a proposal at the request of Supervisor Tim Shaw. The Somerset Township website calendars and events does not indicate public meetings. The face page does not indicate public meetings. The zoning department services does not indicate Don Figel's resignation as a zoning administrator or that Richard R.O.A.R was working as a zoning administrator. On June 3rd, the Township had published in the Hillsdale Daily News, the Somerset Township Board has scheduled a public hearing in the Somerset Center Community Room. The purpose of the hearing is to remove a member from the Somerset Township Planning Commission. Neither this notice or any other indication of such was sent to me. Again, the May 20 board minutes did not indicate a public hearing. I have multiple emails communicating with the township over years, routinely opening the items for input from the board of trustees, the zoning administrator, planning commission, ZBA, and others. I am responding to the latest written accusations by this executive committee meeting, which is purportedly within the framework of removing me from the planning commission, to which I have been serving as chair since 2018 and reappointed January 2021 as a planning commission member. The two executives, Tim Shaw and Mike Burnett, reviewed a list of concerns regarding Connie Gale's conduct. There was no detail as to this list of concerns, including input from others beyond themselves. After Tim Shaw became the supervisor, he has not attended planning commission meetings. And Clerk Mike Burnett has not attended the planning commission meetings routinely, and especially this latest time frame. Board Representative David Humphrey has missed meetings, left meetings early, and has not communicated with the planning commission, including me as chair, nor at the board meetings and updating the board as to the planning commission. Now, the executive committee meetings. The initial item showed disrespect toward zoning administrator Don Figel in an open public meeting to the extent that he resigned over not being able to take any more verbal abuse from C. Gale. Assuming this is a blight civil infraction meeting, I had informed the board as to my politeness in reflecting other member concerns and my particular question previously noted as to why the zoning administrator, an enforcer employee, would be the chair of a committee to determine a very controversial issue regarding implementation of a non-zoning ordinance, a blight ordinance. It has been noted repeatedly the need to have input from the township attorney, true knowledge of current regular police ordinances to understand what was already in place, true knowledge of the zoning ordinance, and true knowledge of the rural environment, including agricultural and lake districts. Committee members had focused on such issues and wanted a better framework for resolution. It had also been noted the board would truly understand needed wording, representation of the public within the framework of initially reaching out for information from them. Even in the past, the Parks Committee, there was a reach out to the public regarding changes to the park, and reaching out to the county courts to truly understand what would be enforced through court cases based upon blight. Initially, in determining the Blight Civil Infraction Committee membership at a meeting with Trustee David Humphrey, Zoning Administrator Don Figel, Supervisor Tim Shaw, and me, it was indicated Trustee David Humphrey, board member and resident of the township, would be the leader of the committee, and Zoning Administrator Don Figel would not be a member of the committee, but a good reference to consult and work with the committee. When Trustee David Humphrey was not organized a meeting for a number of months, the Zoning Administrator Don Figel had asked me, why wasn't there a meeting? Which I responded I had no knowledge of, but likely we should reach out to the committee membership. Zoning Administrator Don Figel responded he would speak to Supervisor Tim Shaw to determine the issue. Supervisor Tim Shaw asked me to be the chair. I agreed, but explained I needed to meet with him to truly understand what he wanted from the committee to organize and proceed correctly. Supervisor Tim Shaw never responded, and without any notice to the committee prior to the first meeting announcement, Supervisor Tim Shaw appointed Zoning Administrator Don Figel as chair. Zoning Administrator Don Figel had provided a significant number of papers at the first meeting, and by memo dated April 12, I sent to the members my review of the papers. I summarized each item, noted the papers were of interest, noted the need to be truly realistic as to representing the public, especially given the vulnerability to the public within the framework of enforcement. Noted lack of knowledge as to the township's regular police ordinances, including enforcement, the urban type framework without truly understanding items such as non-resident lake property owners, agricultural areas, and other realities. Noted blight ordinances were detailed, including even regulating screws, nails, and other items people normally store, particularly in a rural environment. Noted the Michigan State University Extension Land Use Series article, people have different views of junk. Residents from urban areas are sensitive to property values, and if there is a blight ordinance, complaints in this township will increase. In representation of the people, initially there should be a public survey, mailed questionnaire, community meetings to truly outreach and understand the public's needs and concerns. There needs to be initial help, including through volunteers to those being accused, particularly given the poor, the elderly, and disabled. I also note multiple items in the MTA regarding the topic of junk and rubbish ordinances. A supervisor of Greenwood Township advised to take a real poll of the township, truly work on the wording of the ordinances, including through the township council, and ensure consistency in enforcement. Another input by Douglas Kuhlman from Sturgis advised the need to interface with the district court and determine how the item should be done. There are other details, but I am simply noting such in context of what this board did not do, and then in reaction to the committee members trying to get a better understanding of the township and the proposals, the committee was tossed off without even any notice to them, and I, as chair of the planning commission, was tossed off without any notice of such and threats if I simply didn't accept such. Given input by blight civil infraction committee members, which even included notification to Supervisor Tim Shaw, the agenda of the April meeting was changed by majority vote to have a determination of a committee member to be chair. My proposal at the meeting, which reflected these realities from committee members, was not in the context of disrespect. As noted to the board, I indicated the proposal was in the context of other township organizations, including the reality the zoning administrator is not a member of one of the government people informing the organizations. He's just not a member. Just recently, Supervisor Tim Shaw told Richard R.O.A.R to resign from the Planning Commission since he was appointed the temporary zoning administrator. In my presentation to the committee, I explained if a member was appointed as a chair, there would be a format of new business to truly determine how to understand the township's ordinances and represent the public and adhere to standards of ethics approved by the board. Outreach to the township attorney and the government people. Members stated their respect for zoning administrator Don Figel and would value his input as the committee proceeded forward. The motion was approved by the majority of the members present at the meeting, and the next motion nominated me as a chair, which I had not proposed but accepted. After the meeting, I noted to zoning administrator Don Figel my respect, and he indicated the chair change was not a problem. When I learned zoning administrator Don Figel had resigned as a zoning administrator, I emailed to him and wished him a nice life. As chair of the committee, zoning administrator Don Figel had provided information as to enforcement without input from the township attorney, without copies of the current regular police ordinances and information as to the complaints received over time, which were determined as blight. At the request of the committee, As a replacement chair, I requested Supervisor Tim Shaw to provide committee members copies of the regular police ordinances and information as to the complaints received over time, which were determined as blight. This request was a voting item and was not initiated by me. Supervisor Tim Shaw did not respond to this committee request. When zoning administrator Don Figel resigned, the township, including clerk Mike Bonnet, couldn't find the regular police ordinances, even though for years it was in the office of the zoning administrator. Some people called the zoning administrator, and he didn't indicate he took the notebook. This month, June, the librarian explained the regular police ordinances were now in the library, but could not be copied. I had heard in the prior month that Supervisor Tim Shaw told the township to not reveal to the public the regular police ordinances. Regardless of whether that was accurate, I had previously indicated to Clerk Mike Bonnet that similar to what I, as chair of the Planning Commission, had provided to the public, the master plan and the zoning ordinance, copy in the library, had it posted on the website, had copies for the Planning Commission, Board of Trustees, the zoning administrator. The township should make available to the public the regular police ordinances which he agreed with should be done. In essence, this issue was not related to the Planning Commission, was not disrespectful by me towards zoning administrator Don Figel. The framework of the Blight Civil Infraction Committee should have been handled from the beginning by Supervisor Tim Shaw in representing the public, working with the committee, providing the information, and township attorney engagement to truly help the committee to begin their work and truly work with the board as to what the actual members of the board were focusing upon for moving forward with a possible blight ordinance. Without any notice to committee members, Supervisor Tim Shaw canceled the committee. It was noted later Don Figel had resigned. There was no outreach to committee members to even thank them for their having agreed to be on the committee, attend the meetings, research the items, and actually helped a number of issues. There was no outreach to explain to them. They were tossed off due to Don Figel resigning. There are also multiple documented realities from the very beginning as to how the two proposals were introduced. Many emails and interface at board meetings and without true board discussion. The board removed itself from these issues by allowing Supervisor Tim Shaw to have a committee, but without any understanding, guidelines, or interface regarding such. An example was my memo on September 18, 2020 to Supervisor Tim Shaw, which was not responded to. I noted the board truly needs to understand how the zoning ordinance and the general police ordinances are actually enforced. Also, I helped trustee David Pumphrey as the chair of the committee in doing the initial outreach to the members, providing him documents relating to have their meetings, and wrote my willingness further. In irony, Tim Shaw's April 22 email to me stated, "The reasons you were removed are quality people have resigned because of the issues with you, Jim and now Don. The current accusation was reworded, showed disrespect for zoning administrator Don Figel in an open public meeting, etc." So the term issues apparently means verbal abuse, which did not take place by me. And as noted, I have worked with Don Figel respectfully for years. In further irony, after Supervisor Tim Shaw tossed off the Blight Committee without even respectfully notifying them of such, he asked two people, the temporary zoning administrator and the chair of the ZBA, to propose something. On April 22nd, a member of the Blight Committee wrote to Supervisor Tim Shaw, opining the committee was too large, some were filibusters, self-noted being the leader of a 4-meeting situation completed within 3 months once there was an initial board approval, formal public comment, possible modification, and final approval by the board. If this is a board standard in representing the public, conforming to ethics and law, there are obvious questions. The second item was continuously undermining Board of Trustees by questioning board ethics. The initial listing didn't even note this. The initial listing had the reference to criticizing as to corruption. The board is to work within representation of the public, law, and ethics.
Amen.
Board members actually signed ethics standards. As noted before, some of the particular items agreed to be followed. To insist on the highest standards for ethical conduct by all who act on behalf of this township. Appropriate responses to constituent concerns. Treat all people with dignity, respect. Practice openness and transparency in our decisions and actions. Refuse to participate in any decisions or activities for personal gain. Maintaining the highest standards of conduct and ethics. We are working every day to earn and keep the public trust. Board members and supervisors shall create a culture of honesty and high ethics through personal example. The enforcement policy approved by the board in association with the zoning ordinance reflects ethics. There are continued concerns relating to the township not sufficiently trying to settle an issue without undue cost, lawsuits, invasion, or other government engagement. It was repeatedly noted the aging, health problems, financial issues, incapacity to work. The township attorney repeatedly advised to try to resolve issues prior to spending money, such as through lawsuits. He even indicated a number of times he would not put a particular issue before the court. The board had also explained to zoning administrator Don Figel the board would not move forward on possible court cases due to monetary issues impacting the township. Since I was a child, I have worked with the concept of ethics. Teachers, parents, children asked me for providing help for children. This assistance continued through college and business. Executives and lawyers thanked me for helping them, including related to illness, suicide, fears, and other matters. I had worked with religious institutions, including organizing and providing sermons. I have worked as a mediator throughout a number of counties. This included mediating a conflict between a minister and the secretary of a church. I have worked as a volunteer at Henry Ford Allegiance Health within a specific position of reaching out to employees, patients, and family members, and then notifying the hospital of concerns and possible means of helping. Throughout this lifestyle, I became friends and a person to help people of other races, religion, sexual identity other than male, female, and those with multiple other matters. In moving to Somerset Township, my husband Curtis and I have reached out to help people. We have helped people in elections. We have helped people who have been impacted by government. We have donated monetarily to organizations, including children needing food and health care, jailed people needing religious input, environmental concerns, education, military, and other items. We have worked with federal, state, county, and township governmental units. For example, I was asked to tour a farm property with a member of the U.S. House Representative Office to determine better understanding of an issue. I worked on a variety of issues with Michigan House and state representatives. I worked with a county board of commissioner regarding possible bylaws, and obviously for years worked with Somerset Township. Curtis spent multiple hours helping people at no cost. As a member of the Parks Committee, he worked a tremendous amount of time, including bringing equipment from our farm and updating the parks. Curtis chaired the Road Committee to truly help the residents, interfaced with the County Road Commission, met with members of the public, including truly helping a Lake Somerset road issue. He is serving as a board member of the Region 2 Agency on Aging and has reached out to get a number of Somerset residents involved, including Clerk Mike Bonnet. the current zoning administrator wife, and the purported new committee chair, Gary Gruenberg. This must be respected in context of Supervisor Tim Shaw's accusations. Within this reality, yes, I try to continuously work within context of ethics. My communications reflect such focus, but not within the context of undermining. There's also reality of many emails and public interface which complimented the board, worked with the board, reached out respectfully to the board, sent Christmas gifts and other thank you types to the board. On November 19, Tim Shaw sent me a memo. I don't know how I can show enough appreciation to a co-worker who has given me so much motivation. Thanks for being such an inspiration. In further irony, prior to the Blight Civil Infraction Committee April meeting, a member emailed to Supervisor Tim Shaw that having the zoning administrator Don Fagel in the Somerset Township Blight Civil Infraction Ordinance Committee was a conflict of interest ethics. It was detailed as not personal or an attack. In another irony, Supervisor Tim Shaw didn't notify me that he was tossing me until his phone call the afternoon of Monday, April 19th. After the board meeting, and with his actual knowledge, I had been devoting substantial work with the Region 2 Planning Commission to update the zoning ordinance. He had called Region 2 Planning Commission the morning I was working there, inquired if I was there, and without any further information, hung up. When he made the nasty slap on April 19th, he refused to tell me why I was being tossed off and ended the phone conversation. Supervisor Tim Shaw also called another Planning Commission member and stated he was going to attend the May Planning Commission meeting to complain about us. The third item was monopolizing conversation during Planning Commission meetings by not allowing balanced conversation. This item is worded within a fictional framework. Given the board members had not attended the meetings or in the past with Tim Shaw as the board member representative, he asked me to do the board presentation, writing for him to present at the board meetings. He worked with me on a number of items by meeting at my home or at his fire department in Addison. Supervisor Tim Shaw and trustee David Humphrey, who is a current board member representative, had visited at my home, then emailed on a number of items, including the Blight Civil Infraction Ordinance. In true reality, at every meeting, I inquired from other members as to their input. At times, I even reached out one by one to ask what their opinions were. I have sent to them extensive written materials in preparation of the Planning Commission meeting. My emails noted my sincere outreach for their input. The board received multiple copies of these types of materials within the same outreach for their input. Given reality that I had done extensive research and met with the zoning administrator, Don Fagel, repeatedly about a number of issues, had met with the township attorney, had outreach to other government people, including federal, state, multiple counties, and the township, obviously I had to communicate to the Planning Commission anything of interest. Richard R.O.A.R has met at my home. Nemo has. Ray York has. There have been others, and all had talked with me by phone or emailed me. Within this context, in my engagement with board meetings, ZBA meetings, and other meeting organizations, this accusation is within a fictional framework. The July memo sent to both the Planning Commission and the board certainly recognizes these realities, including inviting them to my home to review rural realities and understand zoning issues. The fourth item, lost respect of other Planning Commission members, is problematically worded. People on the Planning Commission have written to me their appreciation. Even prior to 2018, Planning Commission members requested my help, even when I was not on the Planning Commission. This involved meeting at my home, reviewing proposed minutes, asking me to attend a special meeting and other input. The term respect would surely include other planning commission members being respectful in reaching out to me to discuss any concerns and work with me to resolve such. People on the planning commission have written to me their appreciation. One example, Robert Kahn. Connie, you have led us down the path of righteousness. I never could have come remotely close to the great work you have done. The township owes you a debt of gratitude. Namo Caroline has sent me many emails complimenting my work. Again, I have emails from others. Even if there was a particular time a member determined a loss of respect, as previously and continuously noted for years, it is best to resolve matters within a reasonable and representative context, not a means of tossing off. Within items 3rd and 4th, Supervisor Tim Shaw's April 22nd email to me, I have had complaints from the Planning Commission members and will disclose them at an open meeting if you so desire. Purported complaints have now been identified in the revised accusation within these 2 fictional frameworks. Again, I have multiple documentation even before elimination. The eliminated do not support the original accusation. Again, I have multiple documents even before 2018 of working with members of the Planning Commission, working on agendas, discussing issues, updating within multiple ways, including my research, articles, and news releases. Robert Kahn noted it was a good meeting and always enjoyed moving in the right direction. Ray York noted it was the best PC meeting I have ever attended, and we get the accomplishments that you worked so hard for. The 5th item was belittled ZBA secretary regarding ZBA minutes is again problematically worded. As noted, even with the township clerk and the planning commission, current and prior, I have helped with drafting minutes. From my appointment in January 2018, I offered to help ZBA secretaries with minutes so they could simply develop a format, spend less time in drafting, particularly given the legal time requirements for submission to the clerk, have minimal or no corrections by other members, and simply have it approved at the next meeting. There were 3 ZBA secretaries I worked with. The one secretary indicated in writing her resignation did not have to do with my help. When she became the secretary, I sent her a memo and politely noted the bylaw requirements as to minutes, explained some items, and ended thank you for working with me. The other ZBA members worked with me nicely, and if they truly felt emotionally belittled, this should have been worked with me. The secretary prior to these 3 did not agree to my input, and I simply stopped the help. When he was reappointed to the ZBA, I worked with him respectfully and even inquired if he would help to my planning a ZBA planning commission training. Further, this accusation is not related to the planning commission. The 6th item, bias toward agriculture that permeates all conversations, is problematically worded. The meetings, written documentation, and multiple other outreach, including to lake residents, clearly indicate, particularly by the chair, the focus on representing the township as a whole. If actually reading the prior master plan, the zoning ordinance, and other items, it should be very obvious in copying items from urban areas, the rural township was not sufficiently represented. There were multiple concerns, since for years there had not been focus on agricultural protection. Obviously, this should be noticed when finally being focused upon. This is not bias, but following law, representing the people and representing the township. And another irony, as noted in my memo to Clerk Mike Bonnet, a rural area is different from an agricultural area. An agricultural area is compatible to exist in a rural area. The lake residents are in a rural area. Hillsdale County is a rural area. The seventh item exasperated former assessor Jim Bailey and present assessor Max Griffin is not related to the Planning Commission and is not a framework for punishing someone who has a right to question personal property tax. Communications to the two assessors do not reflect disrespect. Yes, any questioning can be exasperating, but does that mean a resident can't engage in their legal right to question personal property taxation? In further reality, I believe Jim Bradley is now working in Jackson at a very good and higher paid position. A March 2018 memo from Assessor Jim Bradley noted his visit to our property in 2005. Curtis and I both came to an agreement of how the property should be assessed. This certainly was not context of quitting his job because of us. The assessor resigned in May 2018. In addition, this rewording of the rationale for firing me due to the assessor, again, is not related to the Planning Commission. And this is truly so in mentioning the name Jim Bailey, who is a member of their church, and the wife had died in May 11th. The eighth item, questionable fiscal responsibility regarding Region 2 and legal costs, is itself a questionable accusation. The board approved the increase in the payment noted in the accusation, minutes for September 19, 2019, minutes for January 21, 2021, and the Planning Commission meets one evening basically every other month, does not receive the fiscal items by Region 2 Planning Commission or the Township Attorney, and never has received information by the board identifying specific costs associated with the Planning Commission or even recognition of realities of what the Planning Commission was working with. The Planning Commission was not notified of costs of Region 2 Planning Commission or by the Township Attorney unrelated to the Planning Commission outreach, particularly if included with the approved expenditures and due to the zoning administrator and or the board. The board has received continuous written documentation as to my extensive work, travel, and other possible pay items without charging the township, and my limitations as to the Region 2 Planning Commission and the Township Attorney expenditures through my work. There's also true reality. My appointment to the Township Planning Commission was within the framework of correcting, updating, and otherwise working on the zoning ordinance. It was clearly noted the township for years had not followed state law requiring a zoning plan and requiring the master plan is to be updated routinely and especially within a 5-year framework. It was clearly noted the zoning ordinance had to reflect the master plan, including the zoning plan. It was clearly noted the zoning ordinance failed to reflect related law, had multiple miswording, and within context of having so many issues. The zoning ordinance simply needed to be reworded to properly update it. It should have been quite obvious to the board there would be costs involved with Region 2 Planning Commission and the Township Attorney. Zoning Administrator Don Figel had mentioned Township Attorney costs should be part of legal costs to the township's economics, separate from the Region 2 Planning Commission costs. The board never made clear they understood the realities of the reason I was appointed, which included costs, the extensive amount of work which was able to be accomplished by the Planning Commission meetings without, especially with my work, at no cost, and lack of outreach to the Planning Commission regarding the process and lack of true understanding of bills reflecting solely the Planning Commission. The April email Tim Shaw sent to me, you have had a negative impact on the budget for planning zoning. I understand it is not all you. And as for the zoning, that it mentioned zoning, I was not the chair, vice chair, or secretary of the Zoning Board of Appeals and had no authority over their budget. The April wording certainly was unclear within personal context of negative impact, especially within context of my significantly volunteering at no cost to the township. The April 22nd email Supervisor Tim Shaw sent to me did not indicate the second, fifth, and sixth items asserted in the executive committee. If these items are truly of concern, why wouldn't such have been noted in April? Further, within Supervisor Tim Shaw's abusive framework, his April 22nd email stated, "We have received negative emails from you calling us corrupt and saying you will go for a recall of the entire board." I responded to all the initial April allegations, but as for this allegation, Supervisor Tim Shaw admitted his questionable wording, and in the current executive committee, accusations simply eliminated such. At the May board meeting, an attendee noted the removal being undertaken by Supervisor Tim Shaw did not conform to law as to a special meeting regarding the misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance associated with serving on the planning commission. This was further confirmed by the prior township supervisor and others. The board minutes failed to reflect truly complying with law, such as a public hearing. The May 13th meeting, executive committee minutes, was never posted as actually taking place in May, and the clerk created the minutes in June. After the May board meeting, a township publication in the Hillsdale Daily News noted a special meeting, and eventually the June board agenda noted a special meeting, but I was never personally notified. As indicated previously, I need to continue on for the benefit of the township in completing the zoning ordinance and then the master plan and zoning plan reflecting the zoning ordinance corrections. The board needs to support such and not engage in animosity associated with a decision by the zoning administrator in resigning as such. Each board member must represent the township, comply with law, comply with ethics, and truly reach out and work on the multiple issues it is responsible for.
Anybody else? Tom, go ahead.
The executive board, did you have that meeting, was all the executive members notified?
Yes,
Is it just two of you on the executive board, or is it three people?
2, 3 would be a quorum.
Yeah, but treasurer's not included.
Correct.
Yeah. I just so you're aware, I attended an executive meeting board. There was 3 people there. Pam Beck was on that executive board. So I just so you're aware.
Well, part of what Connie said was true. Number one, I don't hang up on anybody. I can understand the frustrations of some of you people out there. But it sounds like this is gonna be sorted out outside of this, the township. Unless you're a telemarketer, I don't hang up on you. Connie was notified, of the reasons. She actually replied to the email. It might not have been to the extent that she wanted it to. I kind of lost track on a lot of it, so I'll leave it at that. It's going to be sorted out, it sounds like. But
Do you really, Peter Tucker, do you really want to submit the township to that aggravation and expense? Why? The charges that you have levied against her are garbage, Tim. It's ridiculous. Lost respect of planning commission members? Give me a break. Not having balanced conversations? Exasperated the assessors? And you know what? Don Fidel resigned. Let me rephrase that. Don Fidel left the table of the Blight Committee on his own. Nobody kicked him off.
We even told
He's still a
him.
member.
We told him to come back.
Don John told him to come back. He said he was pouting. That's what Don Figel was doing. And he quit. Who knows why Don Figel quit? That's his business. Maybe you know. I don't know. And frankly,
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter, really.
Well, he doesn't even live in our township anymore, so he shouldn't even be involved in that type of stuff.
Yeah. So, anyway, so he quit. So you blame Connie because he quit?
Blame me. I was the one asking
Yeah.
questions.
He got frustrated with all the questions that we had. We were doing our duty. You asked us to be on a blight committee, and we were trying to learn how to do it.
Probably illegally too, by the way.
And then you go and you cancel the committee
Illegally.
and don't even notify any of us. Thanks a lot, Tim. Show a lot of character there.
If anybody should resign, maybe it's
Yeah,
him.
go ahead.
Yeah,
I was gonna
you
say
ought to resign.
this sounds very familiar because we just went through this with the Parks and Rec. We just stated and we put in a whole new system. We put in a whole bunch of new people to help with the Parks and Rec. And all of a sudden, because we wanted to make them the liaison non-voting, and we also wanted to petition to come to the board with a new liaison, all of a sudden we were cut out. The liaison who can't even he's our treasurer and can't even speak in numbers. He gives a report of the balances, but he doesn't give the expenditures. It's like all of us are out and he remains. Where there's a lot of things we haven't seen, and then all of a sudden you disband it and then you reband it. There's a lot of power issues that I think you didn't answer any of my emails when I emailed all of you. I emailed, not one of you answered my emails. I haven't heard anything, and none of us have. So there's a lot of questions that we have about your authority. I asked you, many people, I called Connie Gale, I called John Smith, I asked many people, and I said, does he have the authority to do this? And everybody was like, he can't do that, he can't do that, oh my gosh, he can't do that. But nobody came up with the evidence of why he cannot. Something's kind of fishy about all of a sudden you're disbanding committees that are formed and then reforming them with people that are perhaps more favorable, or you like them better, or they're yes people that go along with things.
Yes, people?
I don't know, maybe not you, but they got rid of all of us, and some of those were people I worked hard almost by myself last year, and I thought I wasn't going to bring new people to the Parks and Rec when it was a little contentious. So I bring them all, they get them all sworn in. You swore them in, Mike, and then all of a sudden, we're disbanded with no reason, no response, no emails, secret meetings, come in, I want to meet you, bring your keys. What's up with that? It sounds shades of this. I'm a nurse, I'm a chiropractor, I am now a dog walker. I have codes to many houses in this region. And people trust me with their houses, their dogs, with carte blanche. So there's a lot of fishy stuff going on here where all of a sudden you are disbanding committees that were formed and not doing anything wrong. I don't know all of this, but golly, I had a lot of shades of what I could have written half of that letter right there.
What was your name?
What was your name?
Ann Boone.
Gary, yes.
Yeah. I was at that meeting. I was so sad. I wasted my time going to that meeting. What meeting was that? We had two meetings. The first one was basically interrogating Don Figel. It had nothing to do with the meeting. But we spent, what, how much, how many
About
hours?
45 minutes on it.
40, how long? 45
About
minutes?
45 minutes, because he's the one that started the ordeal of him being removed.
Wait. I'm asking John, how long did you interrogate him?
I had about
35 minutes?
15 questions, but I get no responses, Gary.
Well, my point is.
What are you supposed to do, Gary?
Way off track.
No, questioning the ethics is not off track.
You can talk about whatever Oscars, whatever you want.
This is your guy. This is the new guy that they put on, just so everybody knows.
Can you listen for a second, or do you have
And
to
the
talk
Parks
like
and Rec
Andy?
too.
And
He went behind our back and created a new board
I'm not a board.
on that zoning board, illegal zoning board, that making closed door deals, backdoor deals.
Who talks, John? Do you mind if I talk, John, or do you want to be a bully too, like the two that just talked before?
I'll be a bull.
Just talk, now, can you listen to me?
Gary, there's no
Listen for a
need to
second.
have accusations like that. Peter got
The reason why, Peter,
John Smith, the bully.
remove.
and Boone
Okay,
sounded
Gary's got the
reasonable.
floor here.
Pardon?
Gary's got the floor.
For a minute.
This is not a free.
He had 45 minutes. Or more.
Who?
Who do you think I'm talking about? What spent 45 minutes?
John at
Okay, can I talk?
the Blight Committee?
At the Blight Committee, it was absolute waste of time. I don't know, I'm not sure who set up Don Figel to be voted off. Sounded very familiar, because in fact, that had happened at a Parks and Recs committee. By similar people that have a hard time if you ask them a question, can we do this? If it's not exactly the way they want it, it's not done. Exactly. I have letters since 2018, I'm guessing, about changes. I've asked them, when are these items going to be brought before the master plan, especially about sewers that we don't need at the township, in the township. And what happened? Oh, I never had those things installed. Never even discussed. And whenever I pushed it, I got talked off the phone. Friday I was called by Curtis. I'd like to talk. Fine. What is it? That was Wednesday. I says, fine. I have some time Sunday. I will talk with you. And I called him up around 9 o'clock on Sunday. And I says, well, what's a good time for you? 1 o'clock. I says, well, I'd like to meet you at the park. Well, you can't do that. You gotta meet my home. I'd like to be in a common location. Not my house, not your house, someplace else, any other place. Gotta be there, has to be there. Well, you don't want to talk. You don't want to, it was bullying. Bullying. Bullying again. People that bully. I don't particularly care.
Yeah, I got some tissue for you out
I'm
here.
sorry.
Yeah.
If that's the way we run government, by bullying people, I think it's time for
Well,
change.
you're a snake going back
I'm
behind
not
us,
talking
you know.
to you.
Snake.
I'm almost
Snake, Gary.
I'm almost done. I see why there's been some change, and it's been this way. I know a whole planning commission that was actually moved on, but that's not the main thing. That happened from, how many did they have, 11? Down to 5. That was way before 10. That was done by the stroke of a pen, same way that was done here. Were those guys asked, and who chose those persons? Connie, did you? I don't know, I suspect so. I rest my case. Calling people bullies and then bullying them.
Well, first of all, I was
Thank you
asked to
very
be
much.
on that
Thank
committee
you very
by
much.
Don Fidel. Connie didn't ask me.
I got recording of it, of both meetings and minutes. There's no bullying on that, Gary. Give me a break.
The reason why Don left, he looked like a ragged, wore out rag from all the crap.
He didn't even live in our township.
Doesn't matter what he looked like, Gary.
He's a human being.
Asking for ordinances is not out of line, Gary.
He was beat to hell.
Well, maybe he shouldn't be in the position. Maybe he shouldn't be in the position then, Gary.
And we got,
And you!
I know this is,
Oh, baloney, Gary.
this was a public hearing, but can we get back to,
Thank you very much.
Ridiculous.
thank you.
He was there. He didn't see it.
Huh.
James said Somerset Township. It sounds like some people's feelings really been hurt here, and we need to keep this back to getting something done for the township, and we need to keep it representative and not dictated, because when people come with a preconceived that we need this, and it's gonna be this way without input or not, that's wrong. It needs to be representative, and this is not in the best interest of the township, nor is it representative of the township.
Anybody else wish to speak?
One last thing, Tim. Peter Talkman asked you at that first meeting what the expectations of that board was. And I can't exactly remember what you said, but Peter said, what if we came back with nothing? And you said that wouldn't be you said that's unacceptable, that you would not accept that we had to come up with something. So you in your own head already had something in mind that we had to have a blight ordinance. But even though if this board came out with something that said, hey, it doesn't seem like we need one, or hey, zoning's going to cover it, you had it in your mind that you already had something established in your brain. That's all I got to say.
I don't make a comment on anything here. Some of it was true, and a lot of it,
Yeah, sure it was.
and I think we'll sort it out. Anything else?
I got one more thing.
Curtis, we got.
Just as long as,
Curtis, we got your.
I'm sorry. If we have a problem with your neighbor, go across the street and talk to him. Be a neighbor, ask him if you can help him with it. Don't call the cops on him. Yeah, find out what the issue is and see if you can be in help. Try to serve people.
That's the first question I ask when somebody calls. What did your neighbor say? Go
First,
ahead,
I would like to mention that Gary did hang up on me.
Oh, yeah.
He tried to bully me into where a meeting was going to be and when. I was the one who asked for a meeting, and he decides that he's going to. Now, the reason why I asked Gary to meet with me was a letter he wrote to you. And more or less it said, and he thanked you for putting him on both committees, that he would be the chair of the second committee with David and one other person. He also said he had already talked to you, knew exactly what you wanted, and that he could deliver it all to you. So he essentially was saying, Tim, you tell me what I want, I'll write it all down for you. Your board member will agree, and it doesn't matter who from the community that we have on our committee. Our votes are 2-1 or 3 to give you exactly what you want. You apparently have a preconceived idea of what you want. You don't seem to much care what the community itself is willing to tolerate in a blight committee, or what they would like to have in this ordinance. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else wish to speak before we close the public hearing?
I'd like to respond to that. First of all, I made a suggestion because you failed twice. I also, in that comment, it says the time does not involve public comment, review by the attorney, or board review.
that was planned public comment was planned to be. First, you have to make something to comment on before you can actually have comments. So that was the intent. That was only a suggestion. And we failed twice at not making anything from which to comment from.
Yeah, because they didn't provide it, Gary. Thank you very much.
We were supposed to make it. We didn't.
Yeah, I left the Park and Rec board.
Can you state your name, please?
Larry
You're being
Thomas.
recorded. Go ahead.
Back when things were going on here that should not have been going on. They were very corrupt in how they were being done here in this whole unit here, okay? I think that before we can do anything else here, we have to take and get this place in order to be able to do that. And the way it is right now, you can't do that. You know, my understanding is you can't have supervisors working for the fire department for one thing. There's a conflict of interest.
We talked about the ethics last month, on the last meeting. We did talk about that.
But I'm just trying to, John, I'm just trying to say that I left the Park and Rec because of how things were being done up here, okay? We had a treasurer that was hiding money from the Park and Rec for 1% instead of doing what they should have done with the money, and that's utilize it for the people in this township. And we really need to get our act in this office straightened out. Now, that doesn't make sense to you.
What year was that?
Pardon?
Approximately what year was it when you left the park space?
2008, somewhere around there.
Okay.
You know, and you see all this going on, okay? We had people on the board that were going to Menards, and just because they're there, they're checking on windows, they come back in and turn a bill in for their time that they spent supposedly looking at windows for the greenhouse or whatever. I'm just saying, this is the stuff that was going on. That's really what I have to say. I mean, we need to.
Peter Dockman, Tim, you mentioned, you're about to close the public hearing part of this meeting. What is your idea, intent, how you're gonna move forward with this removal process? What's going on?
Lawsuit.
Well, no, I wanna know what the board, what's going on now? What happens now?
We've got it on the agenda.
Has no clue.
Okay, so you're gonna close the public hearing part, so are you gonna take a vote, is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Take a vote with 2 members missing.
Anything else?
That's a good point.
While
think they
it's
care?
still in
You think
public,
they
let's
care?
take a vote right now. Who wants Connie removed? Raise your hand.
Gonna take a vote with 2 people missing.
Nobody in this room?
No?
Nobody in this room wants Connie
Anybody
removed.
wanna raise their hand?
Nobody wants Connie removed. That's what the question was. Anybody in this room want Connie removed?
No.
We are the people. We are the people.
Yeah.
You tell them what to do and they should do it.
Yeah?
Right.
We don't want her removed.
We
That's-
don't want her removed.
How many people do not want Connie removed?
Everyone.
Who does not want her removed?
You know, and people won't say.
Okay.
Anybody else? Going once. I move that we come out of closed session and continue the township board meeting.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Humphrey,
Yes.
yes, Shaw,
Yes. All right. Reports by committee. Chief, Scott Priest, fire report, please.
We had, 97
Okay,
calls
say
in
that
May,
they have
we total of 428,
Yeah, yeah.
which is an increase of 29 calls.
Yeah, they did early.
Do they?
There's 84 medicals, 8 fires, and 5 vehicle accidents.
Thank you. Any questions, comments for the fire chief? With none, moving on, do we have a fire chief report?
no, we do not.
Police chief.
Chief Bancroft, Chief of Police. Last month, we were 535.5 hours, patrolled 4,170 miles, had 14 citations, 10 vehicle crashes, and 120 incident reports. Jumping down to the vehicle maintenance, we only had to replace the water pump on the 17th, that was all in vehicle maintenance. We talked a little bit beforehand, our 2017 vehicle went down with the head gasket malfunction. It's still under warranty, so that's all being covered by the dealership. I think it's also a good time to point out, that's why I wanted to keep 3 cars around, because if we didn't, we would only have 1 car the whole entire month so far. This calls, if anybody's interested in it. I'm going to jump down to my discussion items. Last month there was some discussion about a FOIA request. I just wanted to make it clear to everyone that information to be requested through the Freedom of Information Act. Information about these requests can be found on the Somerset Township website or by speaking with the clerk's office. Additionally, speaking with me and allowing me to clearly understand what anyone is looking for is my preference and a faster, simpler way for my office to serve this community. I want to reiterate that my door is always open, and I have and continue to make myself available to any community member. Number 2, the 21st, June 21st marks Officer Chris McCann's 2-year anniversary with the department. As such, I'm recommending a 25-cent pay increase. I would like to publicly thank him for his service. Lastly, I just wanted to jump in. I didn't put on my discussion things, but just to throw some of the call stuff at you. Nothing extremely sensational occurred. Unfortunately, our themes for the month were family and domestic issues, animal and dog complaints, which tend to be a normal thing around here, and traffic and vehicle issues. By no means am I saying we weren't busy. Just for a reference, last month we had 113 calls, and 31 of those calls were property inspections. This month we had 120, and all of our snowbirds are back, so we only had 4 property inspections. So call load was still way up. Lastly, we've been getting a lot of calls and contacts about the disposition of the MDOP mailbox, the malicious destruction mailboxes that happened on Lake Somerset. We finally got one of the dispositions back. I was kind of shocked by it. One guy was an adult. He had over $2,700 in fines because of that issue. I think it was 4 or 5 days in jail with 1 served, and they gave him community service for the other days. I understand from talking to the fire chief, we might see him around here. And he's not to have contact with the other people involved in that incident. So for anybody that wants to know about that, that's what's going on with that. That's all I have unless somebody has questions for me.
How's the new car?
I'm good.
Thank the last one to me, right?
Thank the Lord, yeah. Last all-wheel drive now.
May I ask a question?
Thank you. No, thank you. Parks and Rec.
Okay, I got a copy of the minutes from the June 2nd Parks and Rec meeting. They discussed giving the playground equipment from Barnett Park over to JCB, and they approved that to move that equipment there. They're looking at relocating some of the disc golf pads, number 18, 14, and 2. There's a new lady by the name of Heather, I hope I say her name right, Ruan. She is very good at graphic design and photography, and they want to bring her on board, and that's part of the consent agenda. They approved the minutes for the April 7th meeting. Volunteer hours between May 5th and June 2nd were like 65.5 hours to clean up McCordy Park. They are doing well on McCordy Park rentals. They have a couple of maintenance days. They got a situation with the pavilion, that the concrete started to settle, we're working on that. The sale of the big blue tractor, they're trying to get that running. I did receive one bid for that tractor. I have not talked to Josh from the standpoint that, he has other bids, but I do have one bid. Music in the park, all, taken care of, and the agreements are signed. There's 4 music in the park, sessions. They're very happy with the, mowing, except for a couple of small items. And the next meeting is July 7th.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions on that part? Okay, Doris. Our own community building.
The electrician that has been working and updating the basement kitchen, we also decided to put up, 2 emergency exit lights by each door. The basement is in our bed. Power goes out, then we'll have a way to get out of there. And we've had several donations, for our fundraiser we're working on, and we're putting up flyers, and we also have a lady who is making, quilt for a raffle, and we'll be setting up, at the US 12 garage sales in August. We have started taking down the playground equipment after our meeting with Parks and Rec. And, our committee also agreed, we've been working on a basement room. We've had it all updated, new lighting and everything, to be able to rent for small events and meetings. We've come up with, amount and, hours, and we have steps to the back door, and which makes it, 2 entities, the top of the building and then the bottom, and you can rent that at the same time. Also, I purchased, 42 chairs to replace, the old event ones and broken ones, and now we have enough for all of our tables. And Dave Poole, he, helped us out and removed, 8 of the poles from, the playground, one of the playground structures. And we hauled them to Rome, and then Wednesday night, Keith Shepherd dug our holes and placed the poles in the holes and donated his time and backhoe. So I appreciate that. And then this morning, we put in a few hours trying to get some of those poles measured and located. So altogether, we had about 45 hours. So, thank you.
Thank you, Doris. Good job. Any questions? All right. Supervisor's report. Obviously, I spent a little time with the attorney this month, working on the road project, which we'll see later on, it's in the budget. Also, one thing the trash, I think, excuse me, might help with our trash and junk car ordinance. I have not called it light ordinance since day 1, since after day 1, I'd say. We have property up around, in Cold Springs Township, up north. And they actually have a village, they collect the taxes. It costs the people about 50% of what they would contract with themselves. And I think that might be a way for us to get out of this issue with people having trash around, garbage laying on the floor. So I, put some calls in, and hopefully we'll have, a better idea of the costs and the functionality of it, possibly in Somerset Township. And, contrary to popular belief that dealt with here, we brought back the board. And go from there. The assessor's report. Statement from Max. I'm assuming oriented. We've had an above average workload this month so far, consisting of PTAs and PR due to the real estate market being so exceptionally firm. So exceptionally firm. Okay. All documents that the department have received have been entered into the BSNA and are up to date. All some are entered into the Treasury Department. And so the Treasury Department can create their 2021 tax database. We are averaging about 10 to 15 calls per week for residents with general assessing questions. The new phone system is working flawlessly for our office so far. We don't have anything from the zoning administrator. Do you have anything? All right, so County Commissioner, Brent.
Well, good evening. For the court reporter here, that Leiningeer for the last name, so. And I see you have a full agenda here, so I'll try and cut my 45-minute report down to about 5 minutes or less. So before I get started, do any of you on the board have any questions for me or for the county commission in the work that we're doing? Okay. I see on your agenda tonight, you're going to be looking at your township tax assessment here this year, and that was one of the key things that we did at our last county commissioner meeting, was we set the county tax levels for the 2021 tax year. We had a truth in taxation hearing so we could work with that Headley issue. And in that, by having that truth in taxation hearing, we were able to levy 7.9432 mils, which is 0.1764 mils above what the Headley rollback would have taken us to. And to bring that back to a local level, part of those mills that we were levying deal with the voted ambulance millage that the residents of Hillsdale County approved here just a couple of years ago. And by assessing that additional 0.1764 mils, what that means is the Somerset Township ambulance will receive approximately $6,200 of additional revenue through that voted ambulance millage, with using the current distribution formula that they can use for operation and equipment. So bringing that back here local, yes, some people think that's an increase in taxation, but we're assessing less than we did a year ago. Last year, the county approved millages rate was 8.0020 mils, and so we are seeing a rollback in that, but it's because of the increase in property value. We did do the truth and taxation hearing and levied those mills to pay the bills here in the county and to continue to support those voter-approved millages here in the county. One of the other things we did at our last board meeting is we set a public hearing for our next meeting, which will be Tuesday at 9 a.m. at the county office building. At that meeting at 10 a.m. we're going to have a public hearing to discuss the Hillsdale County Planning Commission ordinance. That is a ordinance that was last adopted 5 years ago and is due to sunset on June 30th of this year. And without us having that public hearing and continuing that ordinance, the County Planning Commission would go away. I know the Planning Commission is a hot topic here. That is the County Planning Commission, and they are different, but we will probably be adopting the revision of that ordinance and continuing the County Planning Commission for another 5 years. Talking with another township clerk today, I learned of a website that the state treasury has created dealing with the American Rescue Plan Act and its distribution of funds through the state of Michigan to the non-entitlement units of government. Pretty much all townships and villages in the state of Michigan are non-entitlement units in that American Rescue Plan Act. I forwarded that link of that website to Clerk Bonnet today, so he's got that in his email to go and look at. I did print some stuff off here for him. One of the links on that page, on that website, is a link to the 35-plus page Federal Register for rules on how those funds can be used. The Excel program or spreadsheet on that estimates that the amount of revenue that Somerset Township may be allocated through that is about $479,149. Now, I have heard conversations at other townships and from other residents that the township should just give that money back and not accept that money. And in some of the reading that I've seen on that, if you do that, unfortunately the state doesn't just send that money back to the federal government, and the federal government just cancels that amount of debt that they borrowed to issue that program. The state of Michigan will be allocated those funds to redistribute those dollars to other municipalities that haven't exceeded their 75% of their budget in those funds. So if you don't spend them, they're not going to be returned to the taxpayers. So be mindful of the needs of your community as you look at those, and Clerk, I will provide this to you here in a minute. I'll let you, I see the distinguished Mr. Lanninger is here tonight, and was added to the agenda, and I'm glad to see the road commissioner out and representing the road commission at these meetings. I picked up your presentation about your next year's budget, and I know you've got a meeting next week to approve that budget, and I see a big increase in that budget is to the roads. And as the county commissioner representing the eastern quarter of Hillsdale County, there's no control that we have as commissioners over the roads in this county. But it's one of the biggest complaints and one of the biggest issues that we as a county commissioner hear about from the residents and from the townships of the county. And I see that you've got a big increase in your anticipated budget for next year spending on roads here in your township. And I just want to make sure that you are educated when it comes time to dealing with the road commission. You know, we have a elected road commission in this county. There's a 3-member board. We elect 1 member to that road commission every 2 years. And from the road commission's website, the most recent audit that they have available to the public was their 2019 audit. And on that audit, they had a fund balance of $4,572,357. That amounted to about a 45.7% fund equity on their budget for the 2019 tax year. Now, some of that was in materials and equipment, but they had a cash fund balance of $2.8 million. That's 28%. Now, I drove just over 20 miles up here today. The majority of that on a road that the County Road Commission considers a primary road, Waldron Road. Ooh. And 2 miles of that, 2 miles, was a decent road. And those were the first 2 miles that I drove on it. So, be mindful of that in your negotiations with the road commission, and I would encourage you as the township and the citizens to be mindful of the people that you elect, and to push the road commission to change from their 60-40 percentage share on those county roads to a 70-30 or 75-25, where the county road commission is using more of their funds, less of yours, and still covering and being able to cover and work on more roads in the county and in each township every year. That is all that I have. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Yes?
What is the trigger point on the $479,129 is initiated by the
It's
township?
initiated by the township, and that website puts out some details. The state has not, you have to apply for those funds as the township. The county, we got our money, the first half of our money, we got May 20th. So we didn't have to do anything for that other than to make sure that the federal department had our, the number that we wanted to use or whatever. The township, there's a form that the state treasury is supposed to be
Request for
developing.
funds for, okay.
And you're gonna have to put in that form to get your first half of those funds, because that's supposed to be, those funds are supposed to be distributed in 2 tranches. One this year and then one in a year.
Okay.
So, but the website says that that form's not available yet, and they hope to have it available by July 6th of this year. And for anybody here in the public, that website is mi.gov/ARPA. mi.gov/ARPA. That'll get you to the site.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
The allocation of money and the use of that money. I know you and I have had a conversation. Are we off base on thinking if we could help public service? Or in the radio systems that we have, communication?
One of the things the county is looking at is upgrading to 800 megahertz. We don't know yet, Tim, whether we can use that
was
for
the
that.
question.
There are, because it says you can use it to replace lost revenue, and there's a whole detailed calculation in it as to how you go about determining that lost revenue for the governmental agency. You can use it for public health services. Okay, so now, what is the gray area in determining what, with the attorney in the room, I hate to say that. But what is the gray area for health services? Sewer and water infrastructure issues. Can you use it for the creek in the park to maintain that water issue? I don't know. And broadband.
I guess we'll look into
Is 800 megahertz considered broadband? I don't know. I'm not a radio person or a tech person. But yeah, you know, like I said, I haven't had my chance to read this. Now, when you looked at it online, initially it was 150 some pages, but when they put it out in the Federal Register, they condensed that font size down to 35 pages.
I guess my question then would be, if it is something appropriate we can use those funds for, is that something the county would be interested in?
At our
Honestly, I mean, as far as putting money towards it?
At our early meeting, what meeting was it? At our first meeting in the month of, or our last meeting in the month of May. We're in June already. You know? At the last meeting in the month of May, we had Doug Sanford, who is the 911 Services Director, come and give us a presentation on 800 megahertz radio and the state emergency radio service network, which is, Hillsdale County is still on a VHF radio frequency, and I'm an insurance agent and a farmer. I know nothing when it comes to radio frequencies and how emergency services communicate. And so we had some representatives there from the state, Emergency Services Communications Network, and we authorized Mr. Sanford to go out and talk to the experts to find out what the county is going to need for facilities to handle an 800 megahertz system countywide and what those costs are going to be. Because those ones on the commission are not experts in that field. And so we don't know, and on that, we don't know what we need for that, what it's going to cost for that, and we don't know if we can use any of the funds from the R.O.A.R plan to pay for that yet. But it's something that we are investigating.
Illinois County, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, $12 million.
Yeah, they went with the state system. Branch County is building an 800 megahertz system, but they didn't go with the state system. You know, and I haven't even had a chance to reach out yet to commissioners over there to see what their cost difference, you know, if they had looked at the state system, you know, and what that cost was, but yeah. So, and because if we do it, we want to make sure that we're able to take care of not just the county sheriff, but also the 911 personnel, you know, firefighters, EMTs. And then the next question, do we do this for the road commission as well? I don't know.
One way's already on that 800, not to drag us out, but in my opinion, that's the only way you could touch every resident and every transit, every person going through Hillsdale County, if we make it safer for them.
Yeah.
Make it so these guys can communicate. Right now, they can't.
Because, and one of the things that was brought out is the real concern with the DHS system is when you get in a building.
Right.
Okay? You go on a, you know, search in a building, you lose connection and you can't communicate with your partner who's outside, providing you backup. And so that's a concern that we need to worry about those people who protect and serve our community.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Planning Commission,
Planning Commission did not meet in June, they'll meet in July, and it's posted on the full board for the.
election report, Mike.
Okay, there's a election on August 3rd for Hanover Horton School Village, Jackson County. As you know, we opted out of the elections to have the election there, and our precincts will vote there. The notice of election was sent out to all Hanover Horton registered voters in precinct 1 in our township. Sent out 187 permanent AV applications, and I'm starting to get them back. I got about 25 back so far. The ballots are available to be picked up at Hanover Horton Township office on Monday. I'll get those ballots out to people that send in applications. We'll be open on Saturday, August 31st from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. to receive ballots and registration. And then again on Tuesday, August 3rd, on Election Day, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. the clerk's office will be open. Any election costs will be billed to Hanover Horton, like we billed them to North Adams for their election in May. And that's my report.
Questions? Flash report, Mike.
Okay, the flash report on page 1. Revenues for 11 months year to date are $1,966,000. Expenditures are $1,934,000. We're favorable $32K there. 11 months year to date revenue did exceed by $32K. The millage changed from 2.9635 to 29371 on Headley. We had a 216 million taxable value, and our next year, as we talk about Headley, the rate will go down. We started at 3 mil in 10 years, it's gone down. I'll talk about that rate. Our taxable value has gone up to 223,953,401, and at a 2.9025 mill rate, that will generate an additional $8,000 in revenue for the township. On the backside is a comparison to budget. 11 months of 1,966 pushed against a budget of 2,173,000. We shouldn't have any problem making that revenue, and we'll be able to contain the expenses to 2,173,000. The expenditures were 89% of the budget for 11 months, and we have the amended budget of 2.2. Our burn rate for the next month is 239,000, and you'll see that our payables and payroll are far below that, so we should end up with a very good fiscal year. Any questions?
Thank you, Mike. Then, D, Mr. Barnett, huh? Hillsdale County Road Commission.
Well, thank you, Tim. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gary Leininger. I was elected to the Road Commission in November, took office January 1, took the place of a gentleman by the name of Bill Watkins, who served in that capacity for over 20 years, and he chose to retire. Well, my background is, we live on a 90-acre farm in Wright Township on Burt Road, southeast corner of the county, just west of Walden Road, a mile and a half. My wife is a retired registered nurse. I got involved in county government when I was just a youngster. I was elected to the Board of Commissioners when I was 26. Spent 4 years on the Board of Commissioners, and then on my 30th birthday was elected Hillsdale County Treasurer, and I served 36 years as the Hillsdale County Treasurer. And I was blessed with a great staff and an opportunity to serve people all over this county in a job that I thoroughly enjoyed. And so then I retired at the end of 2016, and people wanted to know what I was going to do with myself, and I said, well, I'm not sure yet, but I guarantee you I'm not going to sit in a rocking chair and wait to die. Because if you do that, you don't last very long. And we've got 16 grandkids. 6 of them live just about a mile from us in Brent's household. And so, you know, we enjoy kids. We raised 4 of our own, and we like the grandkids. But when I knew that Bill Watkins was not going to run again for the Road Commission, I decided to throw my hat in the ring because I enjoy being involved. I think my experience in county government as your county treasurer for a long time, budgeting, finance, money management, administrative decisions, those are my strengths and things that I enjoy doing. And so I was elected to the Road Commission, and somebody wanted to know, you know, in the campaign, well, if you get elected, are you going to promise to fix my road? I said, the only thing I can promise to do is to get the most bang for the buck with the dollars that we have available. And if you know anything about the condition of the roads in Hillsdale County, you know, there's lots of room for improvement. Brent already told you about wonderful Waldron Road. I traveled that road tonight to get here as well. So we get the major share of our money comes from the state of Michigan through the Department of Transportation funding from the gas tax and a little piece from license fees. So, you know, we've got a lot more demands than we have money to take care of, and so every year we have to set priorities. It isn't any different than your household budget. You know, there's lots of things you'd like to do, but you only have so much money, and so you have to make decisions. And so that's, you know, our process. Some things that are going on right now that I want you to be aware of. If you travel Milnes Road to go to Hillsdale, there's going to be a new blacktop put on Milnes Road from State Road to Ball Road, and that's going to start just after the 4th of July. And so there will be some delays if you travel that road. There will be, you know, one lane traffic for periods of time until they get that completed. And the goal is to get it completed by the end of July. So keep that in mind. Road grinding has started. Pretty much the southern part of the county is done. They're now moving up to the next tier of townships. Every other year, they do road grinding in the opposite order they did the year before. So last year they started in the northern tier of townships. Somerset would have been one of the first ones done a year ago. This year you're going to be last on the list. Last year, Wright Township was last on the list. So we flip-flop that every other year. Also, road mowing has started in all 4 corners of the county. And with either brining or mowing, if something gets missed, let us know at the Road Commission. You know, because we want to get these done, we want to get them done timely and get them done properly. So if there's a section of the road that gets missed, don't hesitate to pick up the phone, call the road commission, and let us know, and we'll get it corrected. They are working summer hours, so the road commission now works 4 10-hour days, 6 to 4, Monday through Thursday. I just want to share with you that, if there's an emergency that develops from Friday through Monday morning, what do you do? If we get a storm and there's a big tree comes down or a big tree limb comes down on the road, or if, I don't know what you guys do about dead deer on the road in this township. In most places, the road commission gets called to get them off the road. I don't know whether you do that yourself or if you call the road commission. Don't hesitate to call 911 if some of these types of things occur when you can't get a hold of the road commission. I had a situation 2 weeks ago tonight. I went to a township meeting in Woodbridge Township, and I learned about a pretty good sized pothole on South Hillsdale Road, which is a major thoroughfare in the southern part of the county. It was a Thursday night. Nobody was going to be at the road commission until Monday morning. Well, I called one of the other road commissioners. I'm green. I'm brand new at this. What do you do about a situation like that? So I called one of the other road commissioners, and he said, well, I guess you just have to wait till Monday morning. I didn't like that answer. I want to see things get done. I didn't want somebody to hit that thing at 60 miles an hour and blow a tire or bend a rim. So I called 911. Lady answers, what's your emergency? I said, ma'am, just let me talk a couple of minutes and explain to you why I'm calling. Identified myself, new road commissioner. We got this pothole in South Hillsdale Road, and I gave her, the approximate address, 13,300 South Hillsdale Road. I said, I know they have somebody on call to take care of emergencies. She says, yes, they do. I said, well, you contact that person and tell them, in my view, what they need to do is take the cold patch truck out there and fill the hole with cold patch. Well, that was about 9 o'clock on a Friday morning. I had to go into the village of Waldron, do a couple things, and I was going to Hillsdale. So I decided to go west on Territorial, north on South Hillsdale Road, and this was like noon or 1 o'clock. I just wanted to see, was there any chance that hole got fixed? Lo and behold, it was already repaired. And some other small ones in that area were patched as well. So I got a positive response that time, and so I just want to say to you, don't just stick your head in the sand and think you got to wait till Monday to get a potential problem solved that can be fixed on the weekend by our people who are there to handle emergencies. And then lastly, Brent's already mentioned the finance situation, and I'm going to ask you as a township court, and even you as citizens, because I'm just one of three. We have one member of the road commission who I've heard him say repeatedly, we need to keep at least 3 months of cash reserves on hand to cover emergencies. And my question, as we put our budget together this fall, is going to be why? We get about $700,000 a month revenue payment from the state to us. 3 months is over $2 million. And here we are, we're sitting on, at the end of 2020, almost $3,500,000 in cash at the end of the year. With all these projects that we have that need to be done, why are we sitting on a pile of cash? And today, you're not earning anything at the bank in interest, are you? 1/10 of 1%, if you can get that much. So my goal is to get this money to work and fix the roads and the bridges that need to be fixed in this county. But I may need your help to do it because it takes 2 votes to get that accomplished. And I only have 1. So, yeah, Brent, you're absolutely right. We need to get on the ball and do a better job of using the resources that we have to address the problems we have in Toledo County with our roads and bridges. Any questions from the board? Yes.
Yeah, you made a conscious decision this year to work on only primary roads. We used to work together like on Addison Road and on Somerset, and we spent a lot of time with Calhoun and a lot of the roads, south of 12. And now we're basically on our own, so we're looking at doing some roads north, actually four roads, and that's a hard one to swallow. I mean, $400,000 is a lot of money for this township to put out to begin the process. We're looking at special assessment districts for Somerset, Lake Somerset and Lake Leanne, and those numbers are huge. I mean, there'll be a 20-year payback. Will things change here shortly so that you guys can kick in with the work we're doing? We're putting a lot of money in, and we're not seeing hardly anything from Hillsdale Road Commission to help us on some of our roads, because you guys used to help. Yeah, and you got money.
My goal is to make that happen.
Okay.
But again, I go back to the statement I just made. I only get one vote. There are 3 members of this board that set that budget and determine how that money gets allocated. And so I'm asking for your input as we put our budget together. Brent alluded to the fact that the road commission says there's a 60-40 formula. No, Brent, it's 70-30. I've got the paperwork right there. 70% the townships pays for on most of this stuff that we do, and 30% the county. I know from talking with a supervisor down my way who's been on the township board in Ransom Township for 12 years, that a few years ago it was 50-50. And then at some point, the road commission changed the formula, and so it's 70% townships and 30% road commission. And that absolutely needs to be looked at as well. There's no good reason why we should be sitting on $3.5, $4 million in cash when there's all this work that needs to be done. And we get, a monthly revenue check from the state for $700,000.
My second question is, we're gonna double the amount of gravel that we're putting on the roads south of 12. Do you have the manpower to handle that?
I hope so. And again, because I've only been there 5.5 months.
We budgeted $35,000 for total gravel for,
Limestone.
right?
Limestone. Yes.
Yeah.
My mind is different. Limestone.
Okay.
I hope we do.
When is your meeting?
We meet usually the first and the third Thursdays. So we met today. Our meetings are at 10 in the morning. Typically go from 10 until noon or earlier if we get done earlier. But I know in July, the meetings are the 1st and the 29th. Why that was set up that way, boggles my mind. But I know that's when the July dates are. And then we get back to a more traditional meeting time later in the year. I thank you for the opportunity to make this presentation. And, I want to see some things get done. And I want your help to help us get there.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Finances.
Okay, the accounts payable this month is $80,238.33, and primarily that's 40-some thousand for insurance with Decker, and the additional cost to detail the police car. And the payroll is our normal $50,000, $52,414.47, and you have copies of the details for the payables and for the payroll. I now make a motion that we approve the payables for $80,238.33 and payroll for $52,414.47 for a total accounts payable and payroll of $132,652.80.
Support. Motion made, supported, pay the bills. Roll call, please, Mike.
Free.
Yes.
Yes. Shaw.
Yes. What's the wishes on any consent agenda? Roll call, please.
I'm gonna do by,
Roll call, please.
okay,
Come on, three, Mike, come on.
okay, Buckley. Mohan, yes. Shaw,
Yes. Unfinished business, retention, DICAR, BS and A, we're tie those together. I know Gary has been doing a very good job on getting the, scanner, keeping the scanner moving. And, BS and A, we've been working on that for the last 2 weeks here, and Newton has been working diligently to get that up and running, for both sides of the aisle there. And, Mike and I are gonna meet with, online with the, lady tomorrow morning, so. Any questions on that? Sale of property, Somerset Center, ballpark and septic system. The only question was, reasons put on here. And I think we had a discussion on the possible leasing of the property in that. And it was commented on last month by me that, I was approached by a couple of citizens that thought that might be in our best interest, but,
do we have a closing date on that? As far as the property transfer?
do not. I was expecting a response from the Parks Committee, and I have not gotten one, so, I guess we'll move forward with just a complete sale and get it. Civil infraction orders, I think, that's been discussed, and there's no action on that. Approve the sale of the Cordy Park tractor, you said you only had one bid.
Yeah, one bid on that, I'm waiting to get, more information from Josh.
I will move, and we keep that on the, agenda, and then table that. And
Fourth quarter budget.
okay, I will withdraw the motion, we'll do that unfinished business. Fourth quarter budget amendments, Mike.
Okay, we have a, situation where the auditors came in and said we need to be sure that we make quarterly, budget amendments, and, this month we're looking at, fourth quarter for $48,600, and it's basically catching up with the additional costs that we had for elections back in September. The clerk's wages for BS&A went up $3,000. There were projects at the municipal building that were $2,000 and $3,100 in total. Several projects, the canopy, the entrance on the rear canopy, the bathroom, and the additional work in the fire department. We had a budget for the planning. Let me get back to my note. The planning department had a budget of original budget of $24,900. They have spent $41,029. So I'm writing budget amendments to cover that across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different categories, 9 different accounts. So the $24,900 original budget expenditures are $41,029. So that has a lot to do with the expenditures for the general fund. There's an insurance adjustment for the road insurance, $2,700. There were a couple of things at the parks, one for $2,000, one for $4,700, an adjustment, and then the additional cost for detailing on the police car ended up being a total of $48,600. That takes the budget of $2,172,937 and makes it $2,221,537. We should be able to contain that not only in revenue as well as expenditures. So at this time, I make a motion to approve the fourth quarter amendments for $48,600.
Support. Motion made, supported, the capital improvement fund here, Mike. We went from $261,837 up to $267,837.
Why are you looking at the budget?
Pardon me?
What are you looking at?
On the sheet you gave us, I didn't believe it.
Okay, I'm just talking numbers, I didn't, okay, got it, all right.
I guess I don't see where we spent $261,000 on capital improvements. Is that where you rolled? That wasn't capital.
And that was 6,000, that was the capital improvement, that was for the vehicle, for the additional amount, to cover the appliques and the, what do you call it?
Oh, the decal, what it did.
Yeah, good job.
I understand that.
Right. Good chart.
Okay, I think I got it.
Right.
Roll call, please.
Humphrey?
Yes.
Bonnet, yes. Shaw?
Yes. Planning Commission removal, member of Connie Gale from the Planning Commission. The public hearing, I understand, I listened to everything that was said, or most of it, and I heard nothing to change my mind, and adjustments need to be made, and I'm gonna make the motion that we remove Connie Gale from the Planning Commission.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Humphrey?
Yes.
Say that louder.
Yes.
Okay, Bonnet, yes. Shaw?
Yes. 21-22 budget, we're going to have to discuss there, so this will be next week's 100% topic.
Yeah, we were looking at a 32% increase, which included $400,000 for roads. We've cut that down to 28%, and this is just a first pass, or second pass in the budget. So we'll continue to look for cost reduction in the budget and be able to reduce that even further. So we'll be looking at bringing a third revision of the budget to the meeting on the 24th. Everybody has a copy of the budget and the proposed budget.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Taxation, 409, 2021.
This should be a copy of the taxation. Has a copy of it. Okay, I found it. All right, we're gonna reduce the rate of taxation for the 10th year, and we're going from 2.937 to 2.9025 once we have a meeting for the Headley reduction. Our total taxable value, as I mentioned before, went up to $223 million, and it was previously $216. That generated $8,000 in additional revenue. When you think of the taxes, if you have a $200,000 home, $100,000 is taxable. The township gets 3 mills, and you'll see your tax bill for school and all the other stuff, but the township gets 3 mills, and that would be $300 a year on a $200,000, $100,000 taxable property. Basically $25 a month. For $25 a month, you get the police department, fire department that responds within 7 minutes. That's our current response rate, about 7 minutes. Give me a number. What's your average response time?
For the township.
Okay, very good. All right. Police, fire, you get a zoning administrator, you get a building inspector, you get the treasury department, the library, the clerk's office, the assessor, and all the various township offices for $25 a month. So I consider it to be good value. And we'll reduce the, once we approve the Headley amount, we'll go from 2.9371 mils to 2.9125. And that's just an update on, to get ready for the meeting on the 24th.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay?
Any questions? All right, new business, approved MTA annual dues. I will make a motion that we approve the MTA annual dues, $4,140.01.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Humphrey?
Yes.
Yes. Scott?
Yes. Next item is increase cemetery foundation cost per square inch from 35 cents to 50 cents. We get a letter here from our sexton, Mr. Gould. Would like to see the foundation rate per square inch increase from 35 cents to 50. He's got 55 cents here due to price of concrete doubling and whatnot.
Let me confer with Dave for a minute. Dave, the number we talked about, 55 to 50. What are you seeing in other cemeteries?
I get 50 cents in Liberty right now.
Okay, 50 is Liberty and the other ones you do. And the cost of concrete is double, the cost of lumber for frames, for foundations is double.
The last 2 years, concrete has doubled the price.
Okay.
Sometimes I get ready mix, sometimes I go to Maynard to the lumber yard and buy ready mix for that Portland split. And I used to buy it for $8.99 on sale, now it's $19.99 per bag. And that was the last month. 2 years ago, it was, like I said, $8.99. So it's doubled, it's more than double the price.
Okay. At this time, I'll make a motion to increase the foundation cost from 35 cents per square inch to 50 cents per square inch.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Brad, yes. Humphrey?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes. Definitely can't argue any points. Cost of running is nuts. 2022 village proposal for August 2022 election.
Okay, we're gonna be on the August 22 ballot for road, millage, park and recreation, capital improvement, police protection, fire protection, and general fund. So, I wanna get to the verbiage. Last time they, saw it as an increase, for, they established a continuation of the 3 mills. And we need to talk about, do we want to continue with the same distribution? Currently, general fund gets 1 mil. The fire people get 0.75. You get 0.5. Parks and Rec gets 0.25, a quarter of a mil. And then you've got capital improvement for another quarter of a mil, making up the 3 mils. So we need to talk about the nomenclature and begin to start the process to make sure that we got everything in line for the August 22nd ballot. Now I'll get with equalization over in Hillsdale. We'll work out all the details.
Thank you, Mike. Questions for Mike on that? Purchase gasoline tank for the fire department. We have a diesel tank sitting out here now, and with the gas prices going the way they are, I talked to Scott at both chiefs, and we're looking at putting in a 160-gallon tank out here by the diesel tank. And they come by right now and fill it about twice a month, the diesel tank. And they said, this is through Briner. And I believe it's gonna be less than $2,500, but I wanted to bring it before the board and discuss it here. And I will make a recommendation that we authorize the funds to put in a gasoline tank beside the diesel tank out here.
we're up to $2,500.
Yes.
Okay. I'll second that.
Thank you. I look at about a 2-year payback on that.
Okay, what's the savings per gallon?
When I called, it was about 60 cents per gallon. And then they each go through, from what, what's the tax and the bulk rate, we can save on that. And, like I say, the numbers they gave me, we're looking at about a 2-year payback. So, and they aren't going anywhere, so after that, we put money in the bank. Roll call, please.
Humphrey?
Yes.
One yes. Shaw?
Yes. Mike and I have talked that, Mike would consider going to the calendar year for our budget as opposed to July 1, which would be the discussion here of possibly going to, we'll approve the budget the way we have it right now, and then maybe in the fall or later on, look at possibly taking the budget from January 1 to December 31, 2022. But if not, we'll leave the budget as is, but that's just gonna be for discussion and possible action by the end of the year.
And one of the reasons for that is our cash flow, we don't get money from, we don't get any money from the summer tax, it's all school. And we get money after December, in January, and we go all the way through from July 1st till December on reserves. And where if we went to January, we would have income coming in, it would match up with the expenditures, and I wouldn't always have to report that, expenditures exceeded revenue because we haven't got this, or we haven't got the tax money. So that's one reason, and I think it's a more simplicity of just having a 6-month budget to get us off the year. And we'll talk with the auditors, they'll be in here in September. We'll talk with them before that, get their advice, and cover it from that standpoint. So, something we need to look at.
That's where we're at. Going along with what Mike said, that goes along with what the other commissioners have told Gary. Well, having money in the bank, but when you've got that much funds available, cash available, then you might be, because like I said about the roads, and after next year, we are in the bank, and we don't wanna spend every nickel we have, we gotta keep money in the bank to pay our bills, but, anyhow. Where are we here? New business continued. Okay, salaries or wage increases based on performance evaluations.
We'll do these individually.
I'll do them real quick individually. We had a meeting with actually the police chief, fire chief. Scott Freese, fire chief, he got the satisfactory overall, it was excellent, from the way he runs his business and deals with the calls and the equipment and everything. As far as what we expect of him, we gave him an excellent rating, so, we have him, he's in the last group also with 2%. And I'll make a motion, if that's what we need to do right now, is approve.
The 53040?
Yes.
Okay, from 52K?
53040?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I support that.
All right. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Humphrey?
Yes.
One yes. Shaw?
Yes. Now we got the easy one out of the way first. Police chief, basically I would echo the same thing, very satisfied with the police department is right now. Again, I stand on the decisions we made with the police department, and I think we were strong and as good as we've ever been. And with that, I'll make the motion that we approve the same number for Keith, the 53040, our police chief.
Support.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Humphrey?
Yes.
One yes. Shaw?
Yes. Chris McKean, police officer, we're looking at 25%, correct? Or 25 cents.
Yeah.
Don't write that down, 25 cents. It is the anniversary, he got a satisfactory review on the zoning evaluation, I will move that we authorize the 25 cents for Chris McCain, police officer.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Humphrey?
Support. Yes.
Monad, yes. Shaw?
Yes. Sharon Gretsch, deputy treasurer. We put her, I believe, Laura, up to $18. She's doing an excellent job. I believe she got a excellent evaluation. She is doing, as far as I'm concerned, a fantastic job in there. So I recommend authorizing the $18 per hour for Sharon Gretsch, deputy treasurer.
I'll support that.
Questions? Roll call, please.
Humphrey?
Yes.
Monad, yes. Shaw?
Yes. And Sharon Newton, deputy clerk.
Yeah, I'd like to say that, I talked to Sharon on several issues with the auditors and, the things that we, dealt with in the audit. And, she had back surgery and came into the office and worked on the transition 2 weeks after back surgery, and she could hardly walk. And you talk about commitment and dedication. That lady is there every day. She puts in additional time. She's willing to do whatever it takes to make this transition to BSNA. And I make the motion, we increase the rate to $18.50.
Support.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Humphrey?
Yes.
Monad, yes. Shaw?
Yes. Melissa, the facilities coordinator, librarian. Mike, you handle that one?
Yeah, she received a highly satisfactory performance approval. She came in and totally reorganized the library. She coordinates with the building department and with zoning and with the assessors and the treasurer, and she helps us out when we're overloaded. Very positive attitude. People have got I've got a lot of feedback from her from the standpoint that she's a very good people person, is more than willing to help, and her organizational skills and her computer skills are excellent. So she was one of 21 people that we interviewed, and she was outstanding, and she proved to be outstanding on job performance. And so I'll make a motion that we increase her pay from $17 to $17.50 effective July 1st, 2021.
Support.
Any further discussion? Questions? Roll call, please.
Humphrey?
Yes.
Monad, yes. Shaw?
Yes. Firefighters, what was the cost living last year, do we know?
This year,
Okay, on the recommendation of the fire chief, given across the board 2%. I will make that motion that we authorize that. Well, no, I can't.
I'll make the motion, we
Yes, I could.
increase the firemen's wages 2% effective 7/1/21.
Support.
Questions?
Humphrey?
Yes.
Monad, yes. Shaw?
I'll move that. Yes. That's a different word, no raises, I guess. Principles of government.
Okay, MTA sent in the principle of governance that we signed last year. I would like to table this item until we have a full board, so we can all sign the principles of governance at the next meeting.
I'll support that motion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carried. Announcements. June 24, next week, next Thursday, 7 p.m., we are going to have our budget and taxation. Either one, it's past my bedtime. Budget and taxation meeting is next Thursday, 7 o'clock. Annual Township Cleanup Day, is Saturday, July 31, 2021,
8 o'clock to 1.
8 to 1, 4 hours. Yeah, that's 1,300, that's 5 hours. I will note that I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but with some of the issues that we are having, with the tires, I know the county does it once, twice a year, I believe, at the fairgrounds. What's that?
You're talking about
Flush our tires.
every other year, I think?
Is it every other year?
Yeah.
Can you give the information on the contact person there?
Yeah.
Because if we can't, we can't, but just let everybody know we're gonna try to allow them to bring tires into here. So I don't know if there's gonna be any cost in that, but just to let everybody know, we'll have a decision, obviously, soon. Fireworks is July 2, 2021. Music in Park, same night, Kathy Ford Band will be there. Music in the Park, July 16. The Sea Cruisers, Music in the Park. July 30, Brenda Loomis Band, Music in the Park. August 13, Russ Kendrick Martin and 5 Second Rule. And then Mike spoke of the August 3rd election of Hanover school millage, which pertains to you, but not a lot of us. And finally, we'll open the floor back up to public comment. Go ahead, John.
I just wanted to say how disappointed I was tonight. I told you guys a while ago I'd never seen a blight ordinance built in the community that was fighting back on it. The personality conflict, I think, was an unnecessary risk to go into what we may be going into. The minutes, the recordings, and majority of the board members were here tonight to tell you that those accusations that were made were false. So I'm just really surprised that you guys went in that direction. Good job on that storage tank for the gasoline, saving the money in a couple of years. But that's about it, man.
Thank you, John. Curtis?
Could you explain why the township needs to sell the park over here?
That's been discussed in the meetings.
That's nice.
Anything else?
Does anybody know?
What was this? What was the question?
The question is, do we have to sell the park? Why do we have to sell the park?
Since it's brought up, every time I go by there's kids playing over there.
Any other public comment?
Yeah.
Bob?
Thank you. First, you're on the fire department, and you gave a raise to your boss, is that correct? 2, I don't know how to say this, Tim, but, it seems like, almost from every place that you have gone to work at, from, Stockton, county, and over here, seems like there's iffiness everywhere that you have been at, and I don't know why, because I think you're an honorable person, because you do what you're supposed to do, but at the same time, it seems like you're getting some hot water with everything. So I didn't understand when you got onto the fire department that you also see to it that your supervisor would get a raise, and I would have stepped out of that myself, because I don't think that would be my position to do so. The other also is I am, or a little bit inclined on Mr. Lininger. I did question him just before he got out the door. That was because of the spray. The spray was, being sprayed around the county to get rid of weeds. About 3.5 years ago, I think Tim was on the county board at that time, not real sure. But we were trying to push to get the brush hogs. And it took us well over 1.5 years, but we got it. But, the spraying was being done. It's Dow chemical products and so on. I mean, it's very destructive stuff. But anyway, they were spraying along the side of the roads, and they sprayed along into the river, and they sprayed, into people's property. So we had a good talk, supposed to eliminate that, and it's every 4 years that a section of the county will get sprayed. So, and every 16 years, they'll be back in your area. So if you want to, you can simply call and have your place removed for any of that spraying, if you want to, which I hope that you will. But we're trying to influence, we did get where they would not be spraying as much. We're trying to make sure that they use the brush hogs. We ended up with 0, and we ended up with 2 new ones. I don't know what the cost was, $128,000 for the first one, about $98,000 for the other one, somewhere in that neighborhood, and we're trying to keep track of that. And so the expense is, and I think with Brent and his father being here, it's great to have 2 of them out there on councils here, that I think he can keep, our county road in line. The trouble is that we're still using the same 2 product as commissioners on the board, and simply are just what we call bobbleheads. They just nod their heads. The person that really has activity, and we've seen in the past, and his direction is with Mr. Leninger. And I hope that everyone will, put a little bit more forth and faith in to the road commission, even though over the years it's been, I think, Bill Watkins, right? Always been here. And Bill was, he was someplace else all the time. So we do have someone there that's going to be paying attention to the numbers. We do have someone there that is going to make sure that something is going to get accomplished, and we'll come back here and answer to this board and you people of some of the things that need to be done. Other than that, there's one gentleman there, his name is John Saunders. Very much disapprove of the man. He is the supervisor for all, the roads being done. And we have 600 miles in it. Isn't it something like that in the county?
More than that, I believe.
Is it more than that? Wow. And so with that being said, we still have farmland and others that aren't allowed to be sprayed on the side of the road. Any of those weeds, anybody who's doing farming, they're not supposed to spray on the side of that road where it's near your crops. And sometimes we get a hired $10 an hour kid to make the spraying done. And then he sprays the swamps, he sprays over the river, especially across the bridges. So, but we have been in there engaged with them to try to stop it. We did get through it, and so it's still become questionable whether or not we should continue to spray, but we're spraying all this stuff in the state of Michigan in 21 counties. And we don't want it sprayed in Michigan. We don't need the damn stuff. It is terrible stuff, guys. It will kill your birds, it'll kill your butterflies, it'll kill your bees, it'll kill your plants, it'll kill a lot of things. And you're not supposed to touch it until it dries, they said. Well, the kids get out of the bus, and at 3:30 in the afternoon, they were out spraying. The kids got off the bus, took their bikes, kind of take the, on the gravel road there, hit the berms, and it's a wet. I mean, you gotta get rid of this stuff. I mean, we can't be dependent on sprays. But anyway, other than that, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else?
Well, I'm hoping my place does get sprayed. Well, not for that reason. I live in the township. I'm assuming everybody here in the township. But I own 70+ acres, and I bet you 3, 4, maybe 5 acres of my woods is totally devastated with gypsy moss right now. I took my wife out there today, and she cried. I have probably a 3-acre chunk of mature white oaks that are this big around, and you drive out there, there's not a leaf on the tree. You sit there and be quiet, and you can hear the droppings falling on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know who to contact. I tried calling the Michigan Conservation Officer, and they said because of Grand Homes or whatever shut down, everybody's working from home, please be patient. Well, I called them 4 days ago, and I've yet to get a call back. So I don't know what to do. You go out my woods right now, and there's millions of these little caterpillars crawling everywhere. Yeah. And it's like COVID. I see it spreading. It's at my place now. Who's to say it don't go down the road and then over your place, and then I don't know what to do. It's devastating. It makes me want to cry.
I used to be up at the Ann Arbor dance for a little bit there, up in Ann Arbor, and there's some good folks up there that, I'll try to make contact. But the DNR, I'm not saying the spray's a good idea,
Well, I have
but
something against that, but I don't know.
I hope so. And then they're not just supposed to spray too high in the air. It's supposed to be, right level. That's characterized, that it'll float through the air about 120 feet on a 7-mile-an-hour wind, but then you get any more wind or you spray it directly up, you're creating a lot more. And then it does go on the kids' toys and playground and stuff, so that's why we're finding it more harmful, so we're trying to stop that.
Anybody else wish to address the board?
Thank you.
I will finish it with, I published my phone number, and some of you made comments tonight, give me a call, want to discuss things, or call the township, leave me a message. But we are here, we will be here, we're going to do it. Thank you.
Quite the hot seat, right?